So are we really the smartest animals on the planet? For centuries, we've kind of put ourselves at the top of this very tall ladder. But what if that ladder doesn't even exist? What if the animal kingdom is just filled with all these different kinds of genius that science is only now starting to see? Let's dig into the evidence together.
Right. This idea has pretty much been our default setting for most of human history. I mean, we looked at our huge cities, our art, our technology, and we saw this massive, unbridgeable gap between us and every other living thing. It was a nice, comforting story, this idea of human exceptionalism, but it's a story that science is now completely tearing up and rewriting.
And these were the big ones, right? The supposed pillars of what made us so special. Making complicated tools, passing down culture from one generation to the next, thinking in the abstract, planning for the future, and, feeling empathy for each other. For the longest time, these abilities seemed to draw a really clear, bright line separating us from them. And that's really the core question, isn't it? Because the moment scientists started looking closer, really paying attention, that bright line started to get really, really blurry. The evidence now points to a world just teeming with intelligence in forms we honestly never even imagined. So where better to start than with our closest living relatives? For decades now, scientists out in the field have been documenting behaviors in chimpanzees that look, well, shockingly familiar.
Now, this process you're seeing here, this isn't instinct. In parts of West Africa, some chimp groups teach their young how to do this really complex skill of cracking nuts. It's a genuine cultural tradition, passed down through watching and practicing over years, almost like a human apprenticeship. And what's so fascinating is that other chimp groups who have the exact same nuts and rocks available, they never figure it out. That's not biology, that's culture. And it goes even deeper than that. Chimps can actually understand the perspective of others. In some classic experiments, a lower-ranking chimp will sneakily grab a piece of hidden food that it knows the dominant chimp can't see. This shows they're not just reacting to things. They're building a model of what's in someone else's mind to make strategic decisions. That is a huge cognitive leap, and one we once thought was our thing and our thing alone. Okay, so chimps are close relatives. They share some of our traits. Makes sense. But what about animals with completely, alien brains? When we start looking at creatures whose evolutionary paths split from ours hundreds of millions of years ago, that's when our assumptions about intelligence get truly turned upside down. For the longest time, the answer seemed to be a resounding yes. We thought our big, wrinkly neocortex was the secret sauce, the magic ingredient for real intelligence. But it turns out evolution is a far more creative engineer than we ever gave it credit for. So on one side, you have New Caledonian crows. These guys are basically solving Aesop's fables in real life, dropping stones into a tube to raise the water level to get a treat. They have a practical grasp of physics. Then, on the other hand, you have octopuses, whose intelligence is almost otherworldly. They solve puzzles, they escape from sealed jars, they even carry coconut shells around to use as portable armor. And they do all this with a brain that's spread out through their arms, built on a totally different neural blueprint from ours. It's wild. But the evidence goes way beyond just using tools and solving puzzles. We're now discovering that the very things we thought defined our inner world, deep emotions, abstract ideas, and planning for what's next, are shared far more widely than we ever dared to believe. This experiment is just incredible. When they were given a choice, lab rats would consistently choose to free a trapped friend before they would go for a chocolate treat. Now, that's not some simple reflex. That is a conscious choice that puts another animal's well-being ahead of a delicious reward. It's a stunning display of empathy-driven altruism. Okay, and this one might be the most mind-bending of them all. Scientists have actually trained honeybees to understand the concept of nothing as a numerical value. They get that 0 is less than 1. Just let that sink in for a second. An insect with a brain literally the size of a pinhead has grasped a concept of pure abstraction. And just to put this in perspective, the mathematical idea of 0 was a revolutionary and really difficult concept for us. It took human civilization centuries to formally wrap our heads around it. And yet, a honeybee's tiny little brain figured it out, not through philosophy, but just through the elegant problem-solving of evolution. And this ability to mentally time travel, to think beyond the here and now, it pops up all over the animal kingdom. You've got scrub jays who plan their future meals, remembering which food is going to spoil first. You have dolphins that use unique whistles almost like names, calling out to other dolphins who aren't even around.
And of course, elephants, who show this deep emotional intelligence, mourning their dead and remembering specific threats for decades.
So, after all this, what does it all mean? Well, it means we have to just throw out that old model of intelligence, that straight line, that ladder with humans sitting all comfy at the very top. The new picture looks a lot more like this, a cognitive continuum, a huge, diverse spectrum of abilities. Every single species has evolved its own unique cognitive toolkit, one that's perfectly designed for its world. Crows are genius tool users. Dolphins are master communicators. Octopuses are brilliant escape artists. There isn't just one way to be smart, there are thousands.
You see, our own unique intelligence didn't just appear out of thin air. It was built on this ancient foundation of cognitive abilities, empathy, planning, tool use, culture, that we share with countless other species. We may have combined those building blocks in a new and powerful way, but the blocks themselves, they were never exclusively ours to begin with.
And so this all leaves us with a pretty profound question. If we recognize that we share our planet with countless other thinkers and planners and feelers, it fundamentally changes our place in it. It challenges us to reconsider not just what it means to be smart, but what it means to be human in a world that is so much more intelligent than we ever gave it credit for.